Well, I would say listen to your audience and just be a noticer in your own community. What are people in your Bible study or in Sunday school talking about? What are your friends talking about? What are people commenting to on your social media? What responses are you getting when you send out an email? Just being a noticer and seeing, is there a common thread in what I'm saying? And then I've even sent out a survey to my email list. How can I best serve you? What would you like to see? This, or this? And then so to really pay attention to what people are talking about.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you're here today. We are talking to author of A Little Goes a Long Way and Everyday Prayers for Love, Rachael Adams. And she hopes to help women realize God's love and purpose for their lives. She and her husband, Brian, live in Kentucky with their 2 children, Will and Kate. Her work has been featured on Good Morning America, amazing, Crosswalk, Proverbs 31, Today's Parenting, and YouVersion. And you can also listen to her. She is the host of the podcast, the Love Offering Podcast, which airs every Tuesday on your favorite listening platform. And I've had the joy of being on the Love Offering earlier this year, so it's really fun to have Rachael come and join us here in the Writers Bloc. So welcome, Rachael.
Well, hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. And today we're talking a little bit. I'm pulling up my notes here. We're talking a little bit about how to utilize lead magnets to grow our audience. And I think you're probably a great person to teach us about that. And so really excited to talk about that with you. So can you tell us, before we dive into that topic, is there anything else you'd like to share with us just about you, your writing journey, what life looks like for you?
Yeah, you did such a good job with my intro, so I appreciate all your kind words. It's just a joy to get to do what I get to do. I pinch myself sometimes thinking how lucky I am to get to spend time with the Lord and then share about the Lord through writing and speaking and podcasting. And it just truly is a gift that I even get to have conversations like this today with you and meet so many new friends and have a community that God has given me to help encourage me in my faith and prayerfully encourage people in their faith too. And so my family, I believe, is my main ministry. But then what an honor to get to have this public ministry as well.
That's so fun and awesome. I love that you look at it that way. So tell us, first of all, what is a lead magnet for those who might not know or new to the whole idea of building a list? We talk about that a lot in writing circles, but what is a lead magnet?
It's basically just a free resource that introduces people to you and your content. It's answering the question, how can I best serve my audience and draw them into my community and build a relationship with them? And so if you start to think about when you see on social media the things that say, if you comment this word in Instagram or on Facebook, I'm going to send you this for free. And so it's basically a resource that you are serving your reader and then drawing them into community. And so it's a relationship that you're going to be able to continue to build, but it's kind of that first free resource that you're sending them.
Yeah, I love that. And that is kind of a way of providing some value to somebody in accordance to kind of what you're interested in, or maybe if you're writing about a particular topic and you have a lot of wisdom to offer to, single moms or parents with littles or, writers or, who knows? I mean, the options are endless, but you can offer some piece of information, right, to help somebody else. And in that process, they give you their email.
Exactly. And every single email, I always try to remember that is a person. That is not just an email address. And so what does it look like to treat this person as a friend? Treat them as we would want to be treated. That's biblical. Treat others as you want to be treated. And so to really steward that person well and to make it personal and not just like a transaction.
Yeah, that's such a good distinction to make. Yeah, to remember that there's a person behind every email. So, I mean, you've grown a platform. I don't know, how long have you been doing writing and podcasting and all of that, but what, over the course of your career doing this, what lead magnets have worked best for you?
Yeah. I love thinking about this because I attended She Speaks in 2018 for the first time. And I remember at that time first building my website, starting to get my Instagram going and just beginning in this whole process. And I remember meeting with an acquisitions agent, and she really didn't like any of my book or my concept or anything. But the one thing that she saw, I had created this love offering calendar, this love offering challenge. And she said, I think there's something to that. And I didn't
Mm.
even know to call it a lead magnet at that time. I just was trying to draw people in and get more followers. And so I guess I was doing it and not even realizing what I was doing or what it was called. And so when she made that comment, it then sparked this interest in me. I thought, okay, this is something I'm passionate about. This is something that my readers and my community latched onto. And this is something the acquisitions editor also that piqued her interest. And that was actually the birth of the Love Offering podcast. And so
Mm.
then once the Love Offering podcast started, I was then able to share about that lead magnet on there and on social media and gain traction that way. And so that was my very first lead magnet, and it was successful. But I think since then, one of my favorite lead magnets has been a collaboration with other writers. And I've done this multiple times now because it has been so successful. Basically, what I've done is I create a concept, for example, a Mother's Day devotional. And I had all these different topics and verses. And actually, for the Mother's Day devotion, it was like, these are the mothers of the Bible. And I sent out to all my writers' contacts and said, would any of you want to write on the impact of this woman in the Bible and how she mothered well? And so then I was able to collaborate with other writers, which was a gift. And we all wrote those devotions. I compiled it. It lives on my website. So I collect the email addresses that everybody, all the writers, 20 or 25 writers, depending on the project, would then share about it. So it was giving them marketing, adding to their resume, connecting them to another community, connecting them to a broader audience. But then I was able to collect the email addresses. And so it really was a gift, I pray, to everybody that received it and that collaborated on that. So I did that with a Mother's Day devotional. I did that with an Advent devotional. I did that something called Better Together, which was about friendship. And so I actually have another book coming out in the new year, and I'm already dreaming about how can I do that maybe as a pre-launch bonus, collaborating with other writers, and then also creating, collecting those email addresses to then help launch this new book. So those devotionals have been the most successful because I think I had so many other writers going and spreading the message too. And so that was a gift. They were sharing it with their email list. And so that, I think, by far has been, and it's still, they're evergreen. Every Mother's Day, I mean, we created that years ago, and I still share it. Every Advent, I still share it. And so it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Once you create it once, it continues to live on.
Okay, well, I have a follow-up question to that, and maybe it's a little into the weeds, but I've seen that devotional that you did. It's beautiful, and it's like a book. I mean, I used to hear that kind of the wisdom of the day was to like have your lead magnet be at about like a $6 value. And I've seen yours, and I mean, it's definitely more than $6. You would pay more than that in a store or something for it. And so when you're doing that and you're offering such a huge value, plus you've encouraged all of these other writers to link arms with you. Was there ever a point where did you share some of those emails with those writers, or was the incentive for them just to be a part of this other work? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think, for especially beginning writers that are trying just to add to their resume and get their name out there and gain Instagram followers. And every time I would include in the bio who wrote it, and tag them on social media and have their website, and then also allow them to even hyperlink to their own lead magnet within their bio. And so there was that opportunity to promote themselves, but especially with the devotional, like 20 plus people, to give email addresses to 20 new people emailing one person is a lot. And
That
so
would be very
it would
hard
be a
to
lot.
do.
But now I will say I partnered with on my Everyday Prayers for Love. That was a part of the Million Praying Moms ministry. And so Million Praying Moms and I, as a promotion for that book, it was a pre-order bonus. We gave away 5 free devotions to the readers. And she promoted it to her email list. I promoted it to my email list. And then we did share those. Like anybody that signed up on my end, I gave to Million Praying Moms. Anybody that signed up with Million Praying Moms, she gave to me. And so I think just making sure that the language in which you're sharing your lead magnet, you communicate very clearly. When you sign up for this, you're giving your email address to, this person and this person. And so we did do it in that situation, but I did not do it in the other. So I think it just depends on
It
the
depends on the
specific project.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you've touched on social media a little bit. What's your relationship to social media, and do you feel, in terms of like how to build your list, which is more effective or has been more effective for you?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, if I'm being honest.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I am a pretty private person, and I don't love to stay online. And I think most of us, you start to compare yourself, and you start to just focus so much on numbers, and that just can get exhausting. But it does serve its purpose. We as writers and podcasters and speakers, and just people who love the Lord, that is an avenue to be able to share a message of hope. And it's a free message. It's a free way that we can share that. And anything that we love, we tell people about. And so I'm trying to reframe my perspective and think I am hoping to serve and share and spread God's love. That's what I'm trying to do, not to point to me, but to point to him. But I think we have found that algorithms change and they're fickle. We people I have friends that have built these huge following on Instagram and on Facebook, and then they have all of a sudden just lost access to them or been canceled, or you can lose those. You can spend years and years and years developing those and then lose them in an instant. And so I think to put all your eggs in that basket is a little bit risky too. But it is a way that we can share our lead magnets and then have their email addresses, which you do somewhat own. Once you have that, you have direct access to a person rather than depending on an algorithm to hopefully, they hopefully see it maybe. And
Yeah.
so social media, it is necessary, I feel like, to be able to share what we have. And then once it then hopefully carries over to your email address, then you're able to really nurture that relationship.
Yeah, I think that's such a balanced way of looking at it, because I agree. I think it's hard to put all your eggs in one basket, especially when it's controlled by somebody else. I think though it's hard, especially if you have a really good lead magnet, to promote it on social media. I don't know if you have found that to be true, but I have found it's always better within my list first, to offer it that way. Because social media, I mean, it's probably because I don't have a big social media following, but even just to get your lead magnet in front of other people can be a challenge sometimes on social media.
Well, I think, there's social media is good for finding new email addresses. But if you're just wanting to continue to nurture and develop a trusting relationship with the people that are already following you, that's a whole nother thing. I've already got this email list. And so am I going to continue to give them products and give them resources that are going to continue to help them to grow in their faith? And so I think one is trying to develop new relationships, and the other is I'm just continue to develop the relationship that I already have.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. So, if you were talking to a new writer or someone who's been writing for a little bit but really wanting to focus on building a list, like I think sometimes it feels a little overwhelming. So, like how can you simplify it? Like what are some ideas or options that you might initially just encourage her to explore and start doing?
Well, I would say listen to your audience and just be a noticer in your own community. What are people in your Bible study or in Sunday school talking about? What are your friends talking about? What are you seeing other people offer online? What are people commenting to on social media? What responses are you getting when you send out an email? Just being a noticer and seeing, is there a common thread in what I'm saying? And then I've even sent out a survey to my email list. How can I best serve you? What would you like to see? This, or this? And then so to really pay attention to what people are talking about. And then I think secondly, what is it that, and I mentioned this a little bit before, what do I usually want to download? What am I asking people that I follow for? A lot of times for me, it's recipes because I don't know what to make for dinner. I said, is it my husband every night? He's like, what's for dinner? And I say, well, I've got chicken and I've got ground beef. I don't know, you know,
One of those two.
how else can I be creative with this? And so I'm always looking for recipes to feed my family. And it seems like a lot of times that'll say comment recipe. Well, I do, or somebody shares an Amazon product, some cleaning service or some sort of product that they have, or a beautiful curtains or something. And I'm like, I always will respond, I want that, a comment shop. So it's just like, what are things that you automatically want to download? What are you following, and how have you responded? And then I think just ask yourself, what is a problem that my audience is having that I think that I can solve? And people do want a quick win. Cara, you brought this up, that my devotionals, they are big and they are lengthy and they do have really good value. And I'm happy to give things like that away for free. I think you really need to make sure that you are giving value to the people that are following you. But at the same time, it can be a really quick win. I know for my A Little Goes a Long Way book, I tell a story about my next door neighbor who made an angel food cake. And it was this whole story about how she came over and she gave us an angel food cake tin. And then she always is kind of the angel next door, and she'll always give those as gifts to people in our neighborhood. And so my daughter and I have tried to start doing that. And so I tell this whole story in the book. Well, then there's the recipe that I thought, well, people might want to do the same thing. And so that's a lead magnet. Do you want this recipe? You can do this too. And people can download it on my website. And so that's something that's easy. Quizzes are really, really popular. Interact.com is the way that you can make quizzes, and pretty easily. And now with ChatGPT, you could easily come up with ways to configure that and give you some ideas. I think checklists are really good. Bible verses are really good. There are so many downloadable, screensavers that you can do. So if you're really good at design and aesthetics, you can get on Canva and create something really beautiful, and people are excited to download things like that. And so I think just getting creative and seeing how can I answer and be a solution to a problem that my audience is having.
I think that's so good. And I think it's helpful too. And I remember feeling this way when I was first starting, was that, maybe I didn't have anything like totally new to offer somebody. But when you are compiling information for somebody, like all of this stuff that we probably give away online, you can find somewhere else, right? But when you compile it in a pleasing way, in a way that serves your reader well, you're doing them a service. So even if you're not coming up with, I'm not saying to go steal things, but if you're compiling a list of scripture verses on a particular topic, yes, your reader could go do that for themselves, but you've just made it easier for them. And so hopefully that helps people feel like, you don't have to come up with something brand new. Like there's nothing new under the sun. So like finding that point of where it's like, I can put something together that somebody needs, just like you were saying, what do I want? Or what am I hearing other people say they want? And being able to like put two and two together for them, I think is such a service.
It is. And I was gonna just ping pong it back to you. Do you have a lead magnet that's been most successful for you over the years?
I do. I've used a lot of different kinds. I don't even know which one would be my most successful, but I do have a quiz, and that's on my website, and that's kind of a steady little drip. And then I often have like little packets of things, like a packet of devotionals or scripture memory verses and things like that kind of serve people well. I have done a few little ebooks too, and not nearly as robust as yours, but they've done well too. So I think people like that.
They do. And something else I was going to mention that I have found really helpful if I'm speaking at an event and you know how people are frantically writing down notes as you're speaking, I've started to, whether it's even like at a training type or even if it's at a women's conference type. So two different, like for example, if I go to speak up and I will give a presentation, and one of the presentations was about how to write a book proposal. So I told everybody, you don't have to worry about writing it down. Here's a QR code. If you take a picture of it, I'll send all these notes straight to your inbox.
Hmm.
And so immediately
So
there's
easy.
a
Yeah.
hundred women in the room that's like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and relax. She'll just send it to me. And so there's 100 email addresses that automatically you're creating a relationship with. And then the same thing when I will go to a women's conference, I'll say, if you want all these slides sent straight to you, so you don't have to take notes on all the scriptures, then take a picture of this QR code and we can stay in touch. And so that's a quick way. There's 250 emails that you can get just like that, and to continue to develop. And then hopefully eventually sell a product, sell your book or something else to them. So that has been really successful too. Or even I have friends that they'll do a giveaway. If you want to be entered in for this giveaway, download this QR code and then we'll give you a free book. So there are a lot of really easy, creative ways to do it. And now that book proposal template sits on my website. I created it once. It's something that my agent shared with me, and then I kind of fine tuned it. And then now people can download it for free on my website. So it's things that have been helpful to you that, and again, just making it easier on the woman, helping the woman beside you so they have an easier path than we did before we figured it out, if we've even figured it out.
Exactly. Well, we'll at least pretend that we have.
Yeah, we'll get that caveat. I
You
don't know.
just
I don't
you
have
just need
anything
to
figured
be
out.
one step ahead. That's it.
That's right. That's right.
I love to like the mention of the QR code. I mean, there are so many tools available to us now that it's like make it so stupid easy that
Yes. Yes.
it's like, why wouldn't I scan this QR code and get these notes and save myself the trouble? So
Yes.
yeah. Do you make all of your down your lead magnets in Canva? What are your favorite tools to help you build and promote and send out lead magnets?
Yeah, I'm a Canva girl. That I've used that for years and years. And I will say I have somebody that helps me with graphics. A lot of times she'll design things for me and then I'm able to interchange it with different quotes and different people, and for the different podcast episodes, the different Love Offering blog. So that's been really helpful. I think to just know what you're gifted at and what you aren't. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just not gifted at that. I can, once I have like a brand kit with the colors and the fonts and all those things and kind of a template, then I can work from there. And so, but Canva I use. Honestly, I use ChatGPT a lot. That has been really helpful. If you're just even just getting on and just and saying, hey, I need to create a lead magnet. These are the kind of women that I serve. This is what I like to write about. This is what I'm passionate about. Give me 10 things that you think that I could do to be a lead magnet to serve my readers. And I think that you would be surprised at what it could. And I know that's a little bit maybe controversial, but I think if you feed it and just use it as somebody like this, we're helping each other brainstorm. And so just use it as something to get your creative juices flowing and then make it your own. I think that is fair to do as well. And then I was going to ask you on the quizzes. So I use Interact. What do you use to help you develop your quiz?
I did try Interact as well. And
Mhm.
I was just going to affirm what you said about chat, because quizzes require a bit of logic, right?
Yes, they
Like if
do.
they answer A, their
Yep.
results need to be, B,
Hmm.
C, D, or whatever. And so chat was extremely, extremely helpful for me. There were like 8 different types of person that I was trying to kind of, help people identify themselves within a type. And so I wanted the questions to lead towards a particular result. And I fed chat like, this is the result of, the legalist and the perfectionist. And there were all these different types. And then it helped me develop the questions that would lead towards that. So, yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve, I will admit to that. I guess it depends on how complicated your quiz is, but try Interact. I mean, and it's free. Like I have the
It's free.
free version. I don't pay for that. And that just is all connected to my website and to my email management system. And I don't do anything. It was a
Yeah.
like you said, an evergreen thing. I did it once and it's set
Mhm.
up, which is amazing.
I did one. It was, there's the word of the year. I don't know if you do that. It's like kind
Yeah.
of like, God, tell me the word for the year that I will focus on. And so I did a word of the year quiz. So that's something I do every year. And so maybe, obviously go to the Lord first and the Holy Spirit, but maybe that's a fun way to maybe confirm that this is the direction that I want to go. And so that was something that was really successful and continues to be successful for me.
Oh, that's so fun. So we've talked about quizzes and recipes and devotionals and calendars and challenges. Are there any other like big ones that you might encourage somebody, maybe something they haven't thought of necessarily?
The calendar, the love offering calendar still lives on, but then I ended up doing like an advent calendar as well. And I've thought about doing a Lent calendar. I think that that is something that is doable. One of the things, sometimes it is just here is your download. Here is the screensaver that's really beautiful for your phone, and that's an easy win. But then there's also, once they get the email, what it can be also a sequence to where every day they're getting an email in their inbox. And so something that I've done is Summer in the Scriptures, where it's like here's morning and evening prompts for you to make sure that you're in God's word.
Mm.
And so think about maybe that too. It's not just you get an email once and this is your download and we're done. Think about maybe something that can continue to trickle into their inbox, like for 5 days or 10 days or 90 days. I know Mary DeMuse, she had the 90-day reading the Bible is a 90-day challenge. And every day for 90 days, she gave an email in your inbox, which
Wow.
was incredible. That is a lot of work. But that was also associated with a book. And so I think maybe that could be a little bit different. Think about my one time, here's your download, here's the free gift, or here's something that I'm going to continue to slide into your inbox each day as you continue to get this lead magnet. And yeah, I
Mm.
think beyond that, being specific on once you have them in your email, what was it that they downloaded? Were they interested in my podcast? Are they interested in my blog? Are they interested in my Everyday Prayers for Love book? Are they interested in A Little Goes a Long Way? To try to segment them. And then how can I continue to give them what they want? Or do they like it all? You may have somebody that's just like, whatever you write, I want to read it. And so I think segmenting even your email list is important too. Once you get them on there, what are you going to do with them once they're there?
I'm not good at that, but that's a good.
Me either.
I need to improve in that area. So that's a good point, because what happens are conventional wisdom is they download from you and then that's not like the last time they're going to hear from you. So do you create a new follow-up email sequence for every download? Do you have like a boilerplate one that you use for everyone? How do you keep that new email lead warm?
Yeah. No, yeah, it is important. So say they just for example, they wanted the Summer in the Scriptures download. Well, I give that to them. Well, then following that, then they need to know what else I have to offer. So, hey, I'm Rachel. This is my family. This is who I am. This is what I do. I also podcast. I also write books. I also speak, whatever you do. And here are my books. Here are links to my 2 books. And then after that, then I'd say I'm going to continue to send you emails weekly on my podcast and my blog and any other thing, a love note that I do each week. And you're going to receive these every Tuesday. And if at any time you are no longer interested in receiving these, you can always unsubscribe, that kind of thing. And so I do think it's really important that they start to see you as a person too, to trust and build a relationship with. And so that happens slowly. And you are going to get people that are going to unsubscribe. I do every single week have people that don't want to get it anymore. After they get my lead magnet, they're done. And I'm that way a lot of times it's like our inboxes get really crowded and it can be cumbersome to have to go through them all the time. And so what does it look like to really have value for your reader, that they actually look forward to receiving your email? Like it's such a blessing today. I got an email because I always send out emails on Tuesdays. Somebody responded, I always look forward to receiving your email.
Mm.
And as a writer,
Yeah, that feels so good.
it feels so good. But today I also had somebody unsubscribe. So,
Right.
and I think just learning to not take offense to that, maybe that's all they needed and that served them well. And God, used it to bless them, and that's okay. And so you're going to find your people and the people that you really connect with, and be able to really hopefully develop that community long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that took me a long time to learn too, is like to expect a little the churn, right? And that to
Yeah.
actually see that as a gift when people leave that aren't necessarily a good fit for you. Like you don't want them there if they're not taking advantage of your offerings. You really want to be providing people with the stuff that you love and that they enjoy and can benefit from. So in a way, I'm trying to reframe the way I see that and not take personal offense when somebody unsubscribes.
Well, me too. And I will say, so I use Flowdesk. What do you use for your email?
I use Kit.
Kit. Okay. But Flowdesk actually sent me an email, I think a couple weeks ago, and it said, "Hey, your open rate is not as high as it should be." It was around like 24%. And it said there are a lot of people on your list that are not even opening up your emails. And so it's time to clean your list. Do you want to get rid of and archive those that aren't opening and haven't opened in like 6 months or something? And so it was really hard for me, Cara, because there's, you have this number of email subscribers,
Right.
and it was about half of them that Flowdesk was encouraging me to archive. Well, I ended up archiving them, and then my open rate went up to 50%. And I thought, you know what? For me to truly serve the women that I'm called to serve and that want to receive what I'm have to offer, then maybe I don't know. It was hard to let go of the big number, but if they're not opening it anyway, what does it matter? And
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
the open rate going up to 50%, I thought, well, maybe that's a win.
That is so hard. I had a very similar experience, and we were mentioning Flowdesk and Kit, and there's Mailchimp, and there's MailerLite. There's a bunch of these
Yeah.
different providers. One of the things that Kit does is they help you create an automation that will send your inactive subscribers an email and say, "Hey, I haven't seen you in the last whatever 30, 60 days. If you're still interested, click here. If you'd rather roll off, no hard feelings, and you can unsubscribe here." And so now I wrote those emails, and now it automatically picks up those kind of inactive subscribers, and it starts to send them emails to kind of take a cold lead, turn it back into a warm lead, or just, slough off,
Yes.
unsubscribe. And so I thought that was a helpful thing too. But yeah, I completely understand the emotional attachment to being like, oh, let me cut this number in half.
After I worked so hard
I
to
worked
get
so
them.
hard to build
Yeah,
it. But yeah,
I
I think
know.
that's
Yeah,
like, it's like pruning, right? It's
it
like
is. It
it's a
is.
sign of pruning.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if this is applies, but I think that it does. So giveaways, if you a lot of times will see writers, a group of 10 writers all come together and they all give like money towards an Amazon card and give away their book, and that everybody shares it on Instagram, and then they all sign up. I'm trying to remember the actual name of, I'll think of it. And if I don't, maybe I can include it in the
Is
chat. Do you
it
know what it is?
sumo? King
Yes.
Sumo?
King
Yeah.
Sumo. Yes, yes. Thank you. I'm glad your brain's working better than mine. But talk about collecting email addresses. And that is an example of, okay, we just want you to know that all 10 of these authors are going to send you an email after this is done. And then we always tried to space them out, like these two are going to send an email this week. These two are going to send it the next week. So it didn't overwhelm everybody's inboxes. And those people sometimes stay and sometimes they don't, but that's a great way to, and it's not necessarily a lead magnet, but it is a well, maybe it is, because you're
I
giving
think it
away,
is. I
you're
think that
giving like
counts.
books, and you're giving
Yeah.
away money and all those things. So think about how you can maybe get on King Sumo and join some other creatives and host a giveaway to collect some email addresses
Yeah.
and get new followers.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, but it does yield
It's
a
successful.
lot of results.
It
And I
does.
will just say, as a plug, you have to know writers in order
Yes.
to do that. And to know writers, you need to be in the Writers Bloc community.
Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you
Right? Because
do.
you do need to partner with people who, like and trust and that will maybe have a comparable similar message to you, or people that you really say, yeah, I like her writing style. I think she would be a good fit for
Yeah.
this project. So,
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Community is so important. I think about the writers that write for the Love Offering blog. Those are the people that I end up going to go help me with the lead magnet. That's what I was just thinking
Yeah.
about earlier today. Okay, I'm going to go to my Love Offering blog writers first to see if they want to collaborate on this new lead magnet. It's so important to have a community, and you're right, to host a giveaway with and people to share it, because we all know that we're all trying to build these platforms, for lack of a better word, because it is important as you go to try to get a book published. And that's one of the first questions that the publishers ask. Okay, give me your social media following and how many
Yep.
email subscribers do you have? It's
Give
just
us
the
the numbers.
it's just
Yep.
the reality. It's the reality of the business.
Well, and what you just said, like, was firing in my brain because, you have, let's see, like it's not you have your love offering blog is an
Hmm.
opportunity to bring other guest writers on.
Yep.
So you're sharing your platform by letting them publish on your blog, be shared by you. But as a result, I'm sure that is also another mechanism that builds your list, right?
Yeah, it is. It is because it's another person that's sharing. If maybe somebody doesn't know me, but they know them, I'm then being introduced to that person's audience as well. And the same goes for the podcast. It's the exact same thing for the my guests that I have on there. They're sharing it with their people, and so automatically then you're helping each other. Honestly,
Yeah.
like I'm going to introduce you to my audience, and you're going to introduce me to yours. It's a blessing both ways.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is such a fun topic. I really love talking about it with other writers. We have some other ladies on the call here. This is your opportunity to ask Rachel questions.
Hey, Rachel. So I have a couple questions for you. Do you have multiple lead magnets available on your website all the time?
I do. It's on my free page. So rachelkadams.com/free. And if I'm on the ball, which I'm not always, but if I'm on the ball, I will try to move them around, seasonally. So once it hits Mother's Day, I'll try to bring that one to the top. When it's Advent, I'll try to bring that to the top. And so I try to be mindful of that. So right now, I have the summer in the scriptures as my pop-up. I always try to make sure that's seasonal too. And so I'll have that as my pop-up. And then hopefully that's like on the kind of the top of my freebie page as well. So whatever I'm trying to currently promote via social media, that I try to mimic on my free page, and then my pop-up on my website as well.
So on your free page, how do they have to leave their email to actually get that?
Yes. So
Okay.
there's a template that I use, and I create all of that in Flowdesk that then I take to my website and embed that code in there. But the template, basically, they just give me their name. Usually first name is all I really need, and then their email address. And then after they give that to me, then it should send it to them directly. Yeah. And then it adds them to my main list.
And then does it get sent out, or do they just click on it right in the free page?
So then once they give me their email address on my website, it will give them a message. Thank you for entering your information. Go look to on your in your inbox. And so then once they go to their email, then it should be in their email. And that's where they click to download whatever it may be.
And they're all PDFs.
For the most part, yes, I guess, except for the quiz. Everything except for the quiz is a PDF. Yes. Or maybe sometimes, I guess, if it's a presentation, if I've been at a speaking engagement, sometimes it's a PowerPoint. So, but for the most part, yeah, a PDF download.
And when you do I guess if you're having other people write on your podcast, that's considered a collaboration. So how do you choose who you're collaborating with to do that?
In the beginning, so I attended She Speaks and Speak Up and called creatives and, people like Writers Bloc. So it's like, who do I already know? What are some authors that I'm already and writers that I'm already kind of connected with through those communities that are already created? And so I would reach out just individually to them. Hey, are you interested in writing? for the blog. Well, then as the podcast continued to grow, because I only release a podcast once a week. So I have 52 spots for the podcast. I only have 52 spots for the blog, because I release one of each a week. And so as the podcast continued to grow, PR publicists would send me constantly, we want to have this author who's releasing a book. We want to have them on. Are you interested? Well, I started to, because I would love to have everybody on, but there's only so much time. And so I started to say, I don't think they're a great fit for the podcast right now, because I just had somebody on that talked about that, or whatever it may be. Or maybe I'm not as passionate about the subject. And so I'd say, would you be interested in writing for the blog instead? I'd be happy to support you in that way. So a lot of times I'll have people that will, if they have a book out and they want to share an excerpt and they want to promote it, that has been really successful for them and for me. But then I've gotten to the point where I've not had to say, hey, reach out individually, like I'm looking for writers. I actually just posted probably a month ago. I just put on my social media, hey, I'm looking for guest writers for the blog. If you're interested, comment, write on my Instagram, and I'll send you the link. Well, there have been over 17,000 views of that post. I've never had that many views. I think that is my most viewed social media post I've ever had. And so here I am, that had I known it was going to be so successful, I would have, maybe y'all can think of it. There's another tool that you can purchase that automatically sends the person that comments the word, it sends them the information. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I'll have to look it up.
Are you talking within Instagram?
Yes. I'll have to look it up and I'll send it to you. Anyway, but I didn't do that. I didn't have that service. I didn't pay for that service. So I was commenting to every single person which was a gift, which was a blessing, but it took a lot of time to DM every single person that commented, right? And so now I've had over 600 people that have said and submitted articles for, and I never dreamed. This is the first time that's ever happened. So now I have to actually be selective, and not that I wasn't before. I always wanted quality writing, but now it's like, gosh, I'm really having to be selective and just choose the title. And so now we're creating a whole editorial calendar. Okay, we only have 52 spots, and I hate that, but it's going to make, I think, the blog even more excellent, because the quality and the value is going to be even stronger. So anyway, so now it's I started the podcast. This is my 8th year of the podcast, and I think the blog is about at year 6. And so it's continued to morph, it's continued to change, and it's continued to grow in following.
And just to give people a perspective on that, I mean, you have some really big names on your blog, Lisa TerKeurst and Max Lucado and some other, how are you pulling that caliber of writer for that? I mean, I know you didn't start there, but
no.
I mean, is this because of the success of your podcast that you're attracting those level of names, or is it something else?
I think because the Lord. I'm going to first say it's God. And I'm just a small town Kentucky girl, trying to.
We all and I would have just assumed you'd say that, but yes, we would attribute that to the Lord's success for sure.
He truly, and I mean that he gets all the glory for all of it. And he's opened up doors that's like, how in the world, like Good Morning America, when it's like, how in the world did I end up on Good Morning America? I don't know. And it's the Lord. But I think we do have to steward well what God has given us and to stay faithful. And that didn't happen at year 1. It's happened at year 8. And so to just stay the course and to be faithful. And but to truly nuts and bolts answer your question. So Lisa TerKeurst and Max Lucado, their publicists reached out to me, but they didn't give me an option for the interview. They reached out and said, hey, would you be willing to share an excerpt on your blog? And so I said, absolutely. I'd love to support them in the message that way. And they always give me free copies of the book, which is super sweet.
That's a perk.
And so, yeah, one day I would love to have a conversation with them on the podcast. But for now, sharing an excerpt is a gift too. And I'm honored to be able to collaborate them and support them, because again, it helps me and it helps them, and it helps hopefully everybody that reads it one day. And that kind of stuff that lives on my website forever. And I'm not having to create new content, which is another gift. They've got the content and I'm just sharing it. And that's really beneficial too. So, yeah, I've been really fortunate now that publicists just send me, it's in my inbox, they've got my email address. And so they're sending me options. I get at least 5 pitches a day of people that want to be on the podcast. And
Wow.
so again, I only have
Praise the
52
Lord.
spots. And it is,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's funny, in the very beginning of the podcast, I was like, who in the world is going to say yes to me? Who's going to, here I am, I can't imagine. And to this, so far, there have been probably a handful of people that I've reached out to have not been interested in being on the podcast. And those are just those really, really big names that, they only have so much time to, and so you
Right,
can't take
right.
offense to that. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but podcasting is it's a lead magnet in its own right because you are earning a spot in somebody's ear and getting to know them, and they're getting to know you and trusting you and will follow you and follow what you're working on.
Well, and I was going to say that anytime you're a guest on a podcast, my recommendation is to always mention your lead magnet on that podcast at the end. Hey, if you're interested in hearing more about this, I have this free resource on my page. I'd love for you to download it. So it's not just social media. Hey, download my lead magnet. It's every time, if you write for some other publication, like I mentioned, when people collaborate on my devotionals that I give away for free, those people, you need to have in your bio your lead magnet. If you write for Crosswalk or I Believe or Today Parenting or wherever you're writing, include your lead magnet in your bio for people to download it. So it's not just social media that you can get it out there. You can get it out there in lots of ways. And I've even had people reach out to me saying, hey, I have this free resource. Could I entice you to share it with your email list too? So even again, it goes back to community. How can we support one another to get the good news out there?
Yeah, that's so great. And that is I kind of picture it like a snowball that rolls downhill, right? Because at the beginning, it's just all uphill. You're just pushing and making little incremental changes. But like you said, there's the evergreen nature of some of the things that you've created that you can pull out year after year. And then, and then pretty soon people start reaching out to you and asking to, piggyback on your audience and vice versa. So it's an encouragement, I hope, for our writers that are listening today who may feel like, oh my gosh, that feels so big and out of reach and too hard. But it is a long game, don't you think? What kind of final encouragement might you offer to somebody who's wanting to get started, either get started or level up where they're at with their lead magnets and building a platform?
I would say listen to the Holy Spirit, first of all. Just really spend some time with the Lord and seek his direction and his wisdom. I think secondly, join a community like the Writers Bloc or something else, having other writers and speakers and podcasters and believers to support you, pray for you, bounce ideas off of, brainstorm, collaborate with, help each other market and like each other's things and comment on each other. That is just such a gift, and you don't feel so alone in it. And then I think just begin. The Lord says, do not despise small beginnings because the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. And it is so, sometimes things are a flop and they don't work, and that's okay. Just learn from it, regroup, and try something else. And don't think I have to create a 100-page ebook. You don't. You can if that's you're in your wheelhouse. But what brings you joy? What is it that would really help you? What did the person you were a month ago, what could have helped that woman, and how can you help some other woman? How can you serve them well? And what would be a good value to them? So just, I think, start small and then just be consistent. I think just the faithfulness of continuing. It is a long game, and I'm trying to learn. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is something I want to do. And so, what pace is sustainable for me for the long term and the long haul? Because I want to be writing and podcasting for as long as the Lord calls me to do it. Because it does bring me so much joy, and I pray it makes a difference in people's lives for God's kingdom and for his glory.
Oh, that's a good word, Rachel. Well, where can people find you and get your freebies?
Download my lead by now.
Exactly.
So you can find me at rachelkadams.com, and that's Rachael. And then you can find me at Rachael Adams Author on social media. And then you can listen to the Love Offering podcast on any listening platform. So yeah, you can read the blogs, see the podcast, invite me to come speak to your church or your ministry group. And if anybody's interested in getting on the podcast, writing for the blog, collaborating on things, I would love to do that. I really do think we're better together. So it would be my honor to do that alongside you.
Great. Well, I'll be sure to link to your blog and maybe even your what's the best way for them to reach you to, if someone were interested in pitching for your blog or podcast, how would you like them to do that?
So that is via email, and that is rachelkeckadams@gmail.com. So Rachael KECKADAMS@gmail.com.
The full name at
Rachael Keck Adams.
Okay.
Because if you get, you know how social media is. If sometimes things cannot go to your primary box, and so it kind of filter to, and then if I don't, it's just easier for it to all go to my inbox because it's in one place, and I'm able to read it a lot better than in a DM.
Yeah, I get that. Me too. Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been such a joy to talk with you and to reciprocate, have you on my podcast this time, and really appreciate all the wisdom and the gospel-centered message of how to serve your readers best through your own lead magnets has been really sweet. So thank you, Rachael.
Well, thank you for having me. And I pray that each person listening knows that they do have something to offer that the world needs. And so I pray that God makes that clear to them and that they're able to take that first baby step of faithfulness.
Yeah, love that. All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Are you ready to grow in the art and heart of writing? Visit us at mywritersblock.com to learn more about our memberships. We can't wait to see you around the block.